everyone, Colton here and welcome to Comics Alliance. Marvel Studios D23 panel was lame, but there were a few fun things that dropped, such as the Thunderbolts character poster, which is missing Emil Blonsky's The Abomination, as well as Baron Zemo. Now come on Marvel, what do you think in leaving Zemo out? You're gonna give my boss an aneurysm and then there I'll be, out of the job. Now, arguably the biggest thing we got from this panel at D23 was the trailer for Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion being one of the biggest crossover storylines Marvel has ever done in the comics. Now, Secret Invasion features the shape-shifting aliens known as the Skrulls, and unlike in Captain Marvel, they aren't friendly.
Oh my God. Get that thing away. How'd they get in here?
The release of this trailer has sparked the return of the internet's great Skrull search. The search to find out which MCU characters have been Skrulls since the beginning, or perhaps been replaced recently by a Skrull. So with all of the speculation of which MCU characters will be a Skrull, I thought it'd be fun to give a rundown of which characters from the comics turned out to be Skrulls. So here is the short, sweet, balls to the wall recap of Secret Invasion. Queen Varanki, the Queen of the Skrulls, she's a character that I've always felt shared a lot of similarities to the Superman villain Zod. They both warned their people of the inevitable destruction of their planet. They were both cast out for being viewed as too extreme, and both of their planets were destroyed, and they are now both seeking to make Earth their species' new home planet. So Galactus, the Eater of Worlds, he consumed the Skrulls' planet, Tarnax 4, thus killing 7 billion Skrulls in the process. The Skrulls that survived quickly became beholden to Varanki because she had warned that this would happen. Now, prior to Secret Invasion, we had two other big event comics. House of M, that's where Wanda finds out that her kids aren't real and she loses her mind. The MCU's WandaVision and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, they both borrowed from that storyline. Also prior to Secret Invasion, we had Civil War, which of course has also been loosely adapted into the MCU. Anyway, we learned that prior to and during the events of House of M and Civil War, Skrulls had been abducting and replacing various heroes. Some fans have theorized that this is why some characters may have been acting out of character in those comics. Essentially, Secret Invasion was a bit of a big retcon, but it's a cool retcon. It gives you the opportunity to look back at years and years of your favorite comics and wonder which characters may have been a Skrull, wondering who you can trust. Now, not only are the characters in the stories placed at odds because they aren't sure who's a Skrull, you as the reader are also unaware. You're questioning at every page who is a Skrull, analyzing every line of dialogue, asking yourself if that seems like the real character you know and love, or if they're a damn dirty Skrull. Disclaimer, the views and opinions expressed by the Skrullphobic host do not necessarily represent the views and opinions held by Town Square Media Incorporated. So in the comics, Nick Fury was one of the first characters who started realizing that something Skrully was going on, which seems to be exactly what we'll be getting in the MCU's Secret Invasion.
How much do you know about your security detail?
What do you mean, how much do I know about him?
One of the first heroes in the comics that we learn is a Skrull is Elektra. So when Elektra's body is brought to Reed Richards, Hank Pym, and Tony Stark, some of the smartest people in the Marvel universe, they cannot find a single thing that would have given them the ability to identify that Elektra was a Skrull prior to her dying and just reverting back to her Skrull form. The reason they can't find anything is because there's nothing to find. Skrulls are not simply changing their outer appearance, they are transforming down to the DNA of the person they're imitating. Now, before we move on, I do want to give you an idea of kind of what the world looked like during the Secret Invasion story. Remember, this is after the events of House of M and Civil War, so things were already a little tense. The Superhuman Registration Act is in place, something that I think the MCU's Department of Damage Control will be implementing soon. There are heroes who have refused to register, such as Spider-Man, Wolverine, Luke Cage, Echo, and Iron Fist. Now, almost every state does have its own superhero team, such as the Thunderbolts in Colorado. And Tony Stark, Iron Man, he is currently the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Reed Richards, the smartest man alive, he does eventually discover a way to detect the presence of Skrulls. However, upon that discovery, we quickly learn that Hank Pym is a Skrull. He takes out a blaster and shoots Reed in the head, and it's disgusting. Reed's death in Multiverse of Madness kind of looked like pushing Play-Doh through one of those Play-Doh pushy things, you know what I'm talking about. But his death in Secret Invasion, it looked like you just like took silly putty and just started ripping it apart. But luckily he does survive and is eventually able to create a scroll finder, giving him and the other heroes the ability to identify scrolls. But before that, there's a lot of other crazy stuff that happens, such as an army of superpowered scrolls invading New York City. And yeah, they're in their scroll forms, but they have enhanced themselves with superpowers that they got from abducting and analyzing Marvel heroes and even some villains, stealing not only their powers but also technologies. Now, one of my favorite parts of this story that I really hope they adapt into the series is when Viranki tries to convince Tony Stark that he too is a Skrull. Tony starts to kind of lose it and begins to question his very reality. And you know, some of the best science fiction stories involve characters wondering or discovering that they're a clone or an android, or being put in a position where they have to prove that they are the real them.
Not me, Lois. Shoot him. I'm the real Peter. You know your own husband, don't you? You made the right choice, honey.
What was that?
Nothing.
Now, another great part from the comic is when a Skrull ship crashes and out walks a bunch of Marvel heroes, but in their more classic costumes, showing us just how long ago Skrulls had abducted, studied, and replicated heroes, keeping some and returning others, without the ones that they returned even remembering what had happened. We get to see Spider-Man versus Spider-Man, Wolverine versus Wolverine, Luke Cage versus Luke Cage.
Sweet Christmas.
The heroes and you as the reader have trouble keeping up with who is who. Black Widow takes up a shoot first and ask questions later method, where she starts shooting people to see what color they bleed to know whether or not they're a Skrull. Like I said, this is before Reed's Skrulldar is built. So look, I love this comic and I am excited for the series, but I have to point out the obvious in saying that Secret Invasion 100% could have been adapted into an Avengers movie. It's an Infinity War Endgame level event. And while I am over the moon excited about the MCU's Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, it's still a little disappointing to know that the MCU's Secret Invasion won't be a big crossover event like it was in the comics. I mean, it's just not possible with it being a Disney Plus series and not a theatrical film. But hey, we've had plenty of end-of-the-world big crossover battles. I'm all for trying something different. So I think if this series leans heavily into the terrifying feeling and suspense of the unknown, a slow burn thriller that keeps you on your toes and feeling like you're investigating this case alongside Nick Fury, that in itself will capture the essence of the Secret Invasion comics. So please do let me know down in the comments below, what was your favorite Skrull reveal in the comics, and are you looking forward to the new series? We have a video coming out on Screen Crush soon theorizing who will be revealed as a Skrull, so be sure to check that out. If you're new here, please do feel free to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new videos. Join the Alliance, we'd love to have you. My name's Colton, I'll see you next time. Bye.